Miami-Dade police arrested the 25-year-old at the Miami airport as he was about to board a private jet with Sean Diddy Combs. The hip-hop mogul and some of his associates, including Paul, are named in this explosive lawsuit filed by Diddy's former producer Rodney Jones. The lawsuit labels Paul as a mule who acquires and distributes drugs and guns.
P. Diddy had multiple of his homes simultaneously raided by Homeland Security, which was highly publicized in late March of 2024. P. Diddy has been under investigation by the FBI and Homeland Security, with departments in both Los Angeles and Miami who had carried out the simultaneous raids of his properties, had seized his electronics and other forms of property as evidence as a result. P. Diddy has been subjected to an ongoing federal investigation based on allegations made against him in several lawsuits, which were first filed in November of 2023. With the nature of the accusations against P. Diddy, he had hired a lawyer who had formerly represented a notorious underage human trafficker who is currently serving a 20-year prison sentence for her crimes. P. Diddy had done this in February of 2024 after a lawsuit filed against him had accused him of crimes which the lawyer had prior experience in representing due to their connection to the past case. The lawyer he hired had formerly represented a woman who had worked in connection with a high-profile human trafficker who was believed to have been involved in a blackmail operation over really successful people. A verified Twitter account claiming to be that of Suge Knight had made a tweet which connected the raids to this same idea of a blackmail operation, with the tweet claiming P. Diddy had compromising tapes of successful men within the industry. 2011 affidavit documents from a proposed proffer agreement for Jimmy Henchman, who had been with P. Diddy in a Manhattan recording studio waiting for a robbery to be carried out on Tupac Shakur, which Jimmy Henchman had financed in 1994, revealed that the FBI had been investigating P. Diddy in 2011 for allegations being made against him for having salacious relationships with minor boys. P. Diddy had been under surveillance by the FBI dating back to 1997, with the classified FBI reports claiming that it was part of an operation to investigate P. Diddy's record label Bad Boys' believed ties to organized crime groups in New York. Media outlets have claimed that the Homeland Security raids were carried out in relation to accusations made within the onslaught of lawsuits against P. Diddy, with a person mentioned in one of the lawsuits by a male entertainer was arrested by federal agents for drug charges. The man who was arrested was accused in one of the lawsuits as being a mule for P. Diddy. P. Diddy's so-called mule was held in jail for a day and released out on bond. P. Diddy's former bodyguard Gene Dill made comments in an Art of Dialogue interview that possibly P. Diddy's mule could be used against him by the investigators to achieve an arrest of P. Diddy for the accusations placed against him. P. Diddy, being arrested under the charges of the accusations against him, could land a 20-plus year prison sentence, which would result in him being imprisoned into his 70s. In this video, we're going to take a look into the federal investigation into P. Diddy and the arrests made connected to the case. P. Diddy's United States properties were subjected to simultaneous raids by Homeland Security on March 25, 2024. Homeland Security and the FBI, in a federal investigation carried out by authorities in New York, used sectors in Miami and Los Angeles to carry out simultaneous raids on his properties, where electronic devices and other possessions were seized as evidence. Multiple media outlets captured images of people being detained at his properties, which had included his two sons. The media had initially reported several different reasons as to why Homeland Security were raiding his properties, as reports included motives connected to allegations made against P. Diddy in numerous lawsuits, along with firearm offenses. Multiple firearms had been seized from P. Diddy's properties during the raids. P. Diddy on the day of the raids was spotted by the media at the Miami Opa-locka Executive Airport, which was also the same place where a person listed as his mule in a lawsuit was arrested. The person was arrested on felony drug charges, and a lawsuit claimed that this person, who was P. Diddy's mule, would traffic drugs into carry-on luggage on private jets. An affidavit revealed that the mule had in fact had felony amounts of several drugs in his carry-on luggage, leading to his arrest. P. Diddy was also accused by Jonathan Oddy in 2018 of using private jets to traffic drugs with one method Oddie had claimed was diluting or using liquid drugs concealed in bottles of P. Diddy's former vodka brand of Ciroc. P. Diddy's private jet, under his company called Love Air LLC, had been tracked as flying to the Caribbean island of Antigua from Los Angeles on the morning of the raids. But P. Diddy was not aboard the plane, with some speculating it to have been a diversion to confuse P. Diddy's whereabouts, or possibly hide evidence. The media had captured video of P. Diddy at a Miami airport shortly after, where Homeland Security had seized P. Diddy's cell phone and had arrested his mule. P. Diddy had laid low and was not seen for a week after the raids, until pictures had captured him using a phone outside his Miami mansion. With the investigation against P. Diddy being carried out by federal authorities in New York, law enforcement officials have told the New York Post that they are considering with reopening P. Diddy's 1999 nightclub shooting case in New York. P. Diddy was involved in a nightclub shooting in New York in 1999 where 3 people were injured. P. Diddy was with his then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez, along with bad boy artist Shine and bodyguard Anthony Wolf Jones. P. Diddy was charged with 4 weapons-related charges and with bribing his driver to claim ownership of his gun. P. Diddy was found not guilty while Shine was convicted and sentenced to 10 years in prison. P. Diddy's former bodyguard Gene Dill claimed in an interview with YouTube channel Art of Dialogue that P. Diddy had been bribing the jury with $20,000 per person of P. Diddy, Shine, and bodyguard Wolf. Gene Dill claimed people were going to P. Diddy's head of security, Paul Buford, who was the right-hand man of Terry Flinnery being the kingpin of BMF, and had been handing out cards to contact the district attorney and make statements against Shine under the approval of P. Diddy to make sure that Shine would take the rap and get 10 years. The new federal investigation which carried out the raids are considering with reopening the case based on a lawsuit which made the same accusations of P. Diddy bribing the jury. P. Diddy had a $30 million lawsuit placed against him by producer Lil Rod in February of 2024, who was the producer who worked on his most recent album. In the lawsuit, Lil Rod claimed P. Diddy bragged about bribing witnesses and jurors in a 1999 case, along with boasting about using Jennifer Lopez to sneak the gun into the club. The Lil Rod lawsuit was also responsible for naming P. Diddy's alleged mule, who was then arrested and charged with possession in the March raids. This indicates that the feds are keeping a close eye on the allegations made against P. Diddy within the various lawsuits, as an arrest was made during the raids, being 27 days after the lawsuit which was filed, which mentioned P. Diddy's mule. The Lil Rod lawsuit provided screenshots taken from P. Diddy's parties, which displayed men in rooms who appeared to be in activity together in the bedrooms. An adult film star called Knockout confirmed that it was himself in the photos at a P. Diddy party. The lawsuit alleges P. Diddy's parties had spaces for minors along with male workers, where celebrities would be persuaded or forced into after having their drinks laced. This leads into further claims made about the ongoing investigation. After Homeland Security raided P. Diddy's properties, an official Twitter account claiming to be Suge Knight had tweeted about the incident. The tweeted claimed the raids were about incriminating tapes on powerful men. Suge Knight, however, before this, in December of 2023, had told TMZ that his Twitter account is hacked and is under the control of a hacker who is making false claims pretending to be him. The tweet still led to people looking into claims from P. Diddy's prior artists along with the lawsuits, which followed down a narrative of the tweet. Former bad boy artist Mark Curry had made claims that P. Diddy would make his male artists take compromising photos when getting a record deal so he could use it as leverage over them later. Mark Curry implied that bad boy artist Mace had been put under this process by P. Diddy.
A person like Mace that comes to Puff that wants a record deal automatically is willing to do anything that he got to do to have that deal. Like, for example, please, I'm going to give you $100 million, but before I do that, I just want to take a couple of pictures with you. With your shirt off. And your pants off, too.
Lil Rod's lawsuit against P. Diddy had claimed that he had stashed a number of hidden cameras in his properties in Los Angeles and Miami, which were then raided 27 days later by Homeland Security, where electronic devices were seized. As mentioned, the lawsuit included pictures allegedly taken from P. Diddy's properties being of men in bedrooms with male workers, with the lawsuit also alleging there were also spaces for minors. The lawsuit reads, quote, Combs has recordings of several celebrities, artists, music label executives and athletes engaging in illegal activity. These individuals were recorded without their knowledge and consent, unquote. The lawsuit documents continue to read, quote, Mr. Combs possesses compromising footage of every person who has attended his freak-off parties and his house parties, unquote. P. Diddy's so-called freak-off parties were first mentioned as a term which P. Diddy had created, which was revealed in a November 2023 lawsuit by his ex-girlfriend Cassie. Cassie was previously signed to P. Diddy's label Bad Boy, and they had started dating in 2007, being on and off until 2017. The Cassie lawsuit had claimed that P. Diddy had hosted what he had labeled as freak-off sessions, where he would get Cassie to browse websites to find male workers to attend the sessions. The lawsuit also claimed that Cassie would be drugged and forced into partaking in the sessions. The Lil Rod lawsuit claimed alcoholic beverages which were served at P. Diddy's parties had been allegedly spiked with drugs, dosing all of the attendees, making them more susceptible into being influenced into partaking in the sessions. Jonathan Oddy was a male dancer, a male service for hire worker, who had told the Miami police the same allegations against P. Diddy back in 2018. Jonathan Oddy was arrested in 2018 for breaking into the Trump National Doral Resort in Florida, with media reports claiming he was involved in an officer shooting while going on a rant about being in a special relationship with P. Diddy. Cassie's lawsuit claimed P. Diddy would make her browse websites for male services. Jonathan Oddy's services were being advertised on a website called Dancing Bear, which provided male dancers and further services in the Miami area. Jonathan Oddy's ex-wife is a Miami lawyer called Tonya Troutwine, who Oddy told Miami police that Tonya was a witness to a lawsuit settlement contract between P. Diddy and Oddy, which had been made between 2012 and 2017 for Jonathan Oddy to keep quiet about the services he had provided to P. Diddy. The Lil Rod lawsuit claimed P. Diddy would make people sign non-disclosure agreements to gain access to the parties, and had submitted one of the non-disclosure agreements into evidence in a lawsuit which labels the parties as artists' parties. Jonathan Oddy told the Miami police that the settlement terms of which his wife was a witness to had been written under what is labeled as peaceful enjoyment, which are terms from which a person can sue if they are interfered with or harassed at their property. Oddy's claims mean that there was a contract written up where Oddy would abide to the non-disclosure agreement and receive terms of peaceful enjoyment, meaning that he would not be harassed, but he had claimed that the contract was breached as P. Diddy, along with rapper Rick Ross, had sent people to his house to threaten him. Oddy told the Miami police that who he identifies as Luis Gonzalez can back up the claims made about Rick Ross and P. Diddy. The Lil Rod lawsuit may make reference to Rick Ross's signed artist Meek Mill as being involved in the freak-off sessions, as it describes, quote, a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj, unquote. People believe this matches the description of Meek Mill. The Lil Rod lawsuit also makes reference to an artist who, quote, performed at the Super Bowl and had a successful Vegas residency, unquote. People believe this might be describing Usher. Jonathan Oddy had told the Miami police that P. Diddy had hired him on 15 different occasions to provide services for his sessions. Oddy had claimed that he has a collection of private videotapes of P. Diddy, which were filmed from 2014 to 2017, in which P. Diddy is allegedly on tape in compromising circumstances. Oddy told the Miami police that P. Diddy would allegedly use private jets to traffic spike bottles of his previous vodka brand Ciroc, which were then used at the parties to intoxicate the celebrities attending. P. Diddy's bodyguard Gene Deal, in an Art of Dialogue interview, claimed that a girl he had taken to one of P. Diddy's parties had been a victim of one of the spiked drinks, and thankfully had realized that something was wrong and waited for Gene in a car with her best friend, and they then left the party. Lil Rod's lawsuit labeled a man called Brendan Poole as being a mule for P. Diddy, who had trafficked drugs for the parties. Brendan Poole was arrested at a Miami airport by the feds during the P. Diddy raids and was charged with drug possession after several contraband was found on his person. The lawsuit information, combined with prior statements to the Miami police, claims that P. Diddy would host what is non-disclosure agreements labeled as artist parties, where the drinks would be spiked with drugs and rooms would be fitted with cameras to compromise high-profile people. Joe Rogan, on his podcast in episode 2128, had claimed that the allegations against P. Diddy of compromising powerful people is indicative of an intelligence asset and referenced a former notorious blackmailer who was believed to have been compromising high-profile people. This has led to P. Diddy now being called the Jeffrey Epstein of hip-hop. P. Diddy had hired the lawyer of Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice in the believed blackmail operation. P. Diddy in February of 2024 hired the attorney of Ghislaine Maxwell, a woman who was the accomplice of a financier called Jeffrey Epstein, whose billionaire benefactor was the owner of the Victoria's Secret fashion line called Les Wexner. Robert David Steele was an American case officer for the Central Intelligence Agency and was the co-founder of the United States Marine Corps intelligence activity. Robert David Steele had claimed that, to his belief, Jeffrey Epstein was a fake billionaire, with his benefactor being Les Wexner, who was his financial manager from 1987 to 2007. A Vanity Fair article from June 2023 reads, quote, "Of the many mysteries that still surround the life and crimes of the notorious financier, the source of his wealth, and thus his power, might not be the greatest. His long-standing business ties with prominent client billionaire retail magnate Leslie Wexner holds the key." Unquote. Robert David Steele had made claims that, to his belief, Jeffrey Epstein was given a $1 billion line of credit by his financial manager, which was then, to his belief, used in his underworld crimes. Wikipedia claims Epstein had cultivated an elite social circle and procured many women and minors. Wikipedia claims Epstein had installed concealed cameras in numerous places on his properties to allegedly record prominent people for criminal purposes such as blackmail. Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's long-term girlfriend and accomplice, had told a friend that Epstein's private island in the Virgin Islands was completely wired for video, and the friend believed that Maxwell and Epstein were videotaping everyone on the island, being used as an insurance policy. When police had raided Jeffrey Epstein's Palm Beach residence, 2 hidden cameras were discovered in his home. It was also reported that Epstein's mansion in New York was wired extensively with a video surveillance system. Newly unsealed court documents from the Epstein case connects P. Diddy's billionaire benefactor into Epstein. P. Diddy in the media has been labeled as having a sugar daddy, being the nickname given to Ron Burkle, who has been P. Diddy's billionaire benefactor who helped P. Diddy become a billionaire. Burkle, who is worth over $3 billion, has been accounted for being one of the people who had helped P. Diddy with becoming a billionaire after they had made several deals together beginning in 2003. P. Diddy in 2008 claimed in his own words that Ron Burkle had threw his coming out party. P. Diddy had thrown some of his parties at Ron Burkle's Beverly Hills estate, such as the 2015 Ciroc-sponsored event, which had several A-list celebrities attend. Unsealed court documents in a case relating to Jeffrey Epstein released in January of 2024 claimed, quote, "Burkle has knowledge of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking conduct." Unquote. P. Diddy hired Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer in February of 2024 as a lawsuit was placed against him relating to a case of a minor. The Lil Rod lawsuit claimed that it was allegedly both male services and minors which were included at the parties, with the rooms being monitored with hidden cameras. Lil Rod's attorney Tyrone A. Blackburn described P. Diddy's chief of staff Christina Coram as, quote, "the Ghislaine Maxwell to Sean Combs' Jeffrey Epstein," unquote. The Lil Rod lawsuit named not only P. Diddy as a defendant, but high-profile figures and businesses in Hollywood, including Universal Music Group and Motown. Lil Rod produced the majority of P. Diddy's 5th studio album called The Love Album, and had claimed in the lawsuit that he had lived with P. Diddy for months at a time, being in P. Diddy's homes in Los Angeles, New York City and Miami, as well as several weeks on a yacht rented by P. Diddy, being in the US Virgin Islands. P. Diddy's son, who was seen handcuffed during the time of the raids, has now been accused of drugging and taking advantage of a woman, being on the same yacht of P. Diddy's, which was mentioned in the lawsuit documents from February of 2024. Lil Rod claimed P. Diddy had made him aware of footage from hidden cameras within his properties, claiming that P. Diddy possesses compromising footage, being of everyone that has attended his freak-off parties and his house parties. The lawsuit claimed P. Diddy had told Lil Rod that if he were to partake in the activities, that the people within the music industry would place him to a higher prestige, and claimed he was promised to win a Grammy if he was allowed to be filmed being compromised. The same album which he had worked on was nominated for the first time in 26 years of P. Diddy's career, being in November of 2023, being just 3 days before the first lawsuit against P. Diddy by Cassie. YouTuber Tissa Tells broke down how P. Diddy's connection into the Grammys is connected into Ron Burkle. The Grammys in December of 2023 had issued a statement concerning P. Diddy about the allegations against him due to the fact that he had a Grammy nomination for his album which was produced by Lil Rod, with the Grammys issuing the statement 2 months before the Lil Rod lawsuit, with the lawsuit claiming P. Diddy had told him he would be offered Producer of the Year award if he were to allow himself to be compromised. YouTuber Tissa Tells broke down Ron Burkle's influence over the Grammys, revealing his financial ties to the Grammys, which had revealed that the Grammys used Ron Burkle's Beverly Hills mansion during Grammy weekend, which had been used to host the Grammy Awards luncheon to present Lady Gaga with an award. This is the same mansion where P. Diddy had been hosting parties within, including the one in 2015. Former news columnist Gorka, which was shut down after publicizing secretly recorded private compromising tapes of Hulk Hogan, had exposed a connection between P. Diddy's billionaire benefactor Ron Burkle being into Jeffrey Epstein. An article from 2007 claimed that Vanity Fair was going to publish a feature piece written by best-selling author John Connolly, which was going to expose Jeffrey Epstein and his ties into Ron Burkle, but the piece had been scrapped and was prevented from being released. The article revealed how Ron Burkle was the backer of Danny A., who was a party promoter in New York, which Burkle had funded to open a nightclub called Upstairs, which was on Spring Street, with the selling point being a place where A-list celebrities can go where secrets are kept. Page 6 journalists got access to the club and noted some of the clients were Adam Sandler and Chris Rock. The Gorka article from 2007, which references the scrapped expose piece, claimed young girls from the Upstairs club were being flown from New York to Los Angeles on Ron Burkle's private jet. The Gorka article referencing the scrapped Vanity Fair piece claimed the girls were then ending up with the likes of Jeffrey Epstein and entertainment and music investor Steve Bing. A News 24 article from 2017 reveals further information about the jet of P. Diddy's billionaire benefactor Ron Burkle. The article cites Edward Klein being the former editor-in-chief for the New York Times Magazine, who had featured claims in a book made by an accuser against Bill Clinton of compromising acts taking place on Ron Burkle's private jet, which had been called the Air F-Word 1, when Ron Burkle had fundraised over $10 million for the Clintons. Ron Burkle had fundraised the money for his Yucaipa company, which is an American private equity firm whose investor was the Sheikh of Dubai, Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, who Bill Clinton was then an advisor to under the company. Jonathan Oddy had told the Miami police that P. Diddy was allegedly connected to the Clintons through his lawyers, with Oddy telling the police that the lawyers and P. Diddy were allegedly involved in an extortion scheme.
It's his attorneys, which are Mark Garagos and Ben Mercedes. Ben Mercedes worked for Bad Boy Entertainment for 4 years and worked for Hillary Rodman for 5. Hillary sends it to Garagos, and Garagos gives it to Mercedes, and they give it to Diddy.
P. Diddy's billionaire benefactor Ron Burkle was also an associate of Ted Fields, who was the co-owner of Interscope Records. P. Diddy signed a distribution deal with Interscope Records in 2009, which automatically also placed any of P. Diddy's artists signed to Bad Boy under Interscope. Suge Knight made reference to this in TV documentary called American Dream American Nightmare, as he had pointed out that co-founder of Interscope, Jimmy Iovine, was in business with P. Diddy, being after P. Diddy was blamed for financing the Tupac murder in 1996, while Tupac was under a contract with Interscope, which granted Interscope power of attorney over Tupac.
When Jimmy Iovine heard, I thought Tupac was dead, right? First thing he said was, "You can't be a dead man in sales." Jimmy turned back around and did a deal and signed Puffy as an artist on Interscope.
Tupac's last album, which would have relieved him of his Interscope contract if he was not murdered, had originally featured P. Diddy dressed as a ballerina on the back of the cover before it had been removed by a publicist. Former Bad Boy artist Mark Curry had made accusations that P. Diddy had compromised former Bad Boy artist Mace, being in the mentioned ways. Rapper Cameron exposed this about Mace in a diss track called Dinner Time, along with a Breakfast Club interview, where Cameron claimed that he had seen an intimate male-inclined preferred item in a bathroom sink being at one of Mace's properties. The property was a midtown brownstone home which was actually owned by P. Diddy, which Mace had been staying in, and when Cameron had confronted Mace about the item, Mace had claimed that it was P. Diddy's which he had left behind. Rapper Noriega, who was under P. Diddy's former television network Revolt TV, which was co-funded by Ron Burkle, had gone on YouTube channel Vlad TV, where he had made claims that offers were made to him to partake in the compromising sessions to advance in his career.
There's 3 different doors, right? There's to the left, there's to the right, and then there's straight. Straight is you're on your own. To the right, I'm not sure if that's right there, but I was offered these doors.
As the Lil Rod lawsuit had put forward, it alleged that P. Diddy would offer artists increased success in the industry if they were first to be compromised at his parties, as the lawsuit claimed his connections would help with the elevation of their success, as seen with Lil Rod referencing his personal situation with the Grammys. DMX claimed in an interview with Westwood that a lot of people in hip-hop were being compromised by the bigwigs in the industry who were helping with their success while maintaining control over them.
What's going down with the industry, dog?
The industry is full of a bunch of sucking, riding, bending over the desk straight up like that. At every party, every industry party, they the record label executives, and it's like there's too much of that going on.
Fat Joe had also made these same claims in a Vlad TV interview.
The hip-hop community is most likely owned by gay. I happen to think there's a gay mafia in hip-hop. The people who give you award at award shows, this is the gay mafia, my man.
A rapper on the Math Hoffa show on YouTube who was approached to get 2 record deals had revealed that with both deals came this same compromising aspect where artists would be drugged and then placed into compromising acts to then be owned and controlled.
I had like 2 record deals, right? And
They wanted your
yeah, they might invite you to a party and there's no bitch there. It's a sausage party. They trying to drug you.
Oh, yo, bro, take this drink right here.
In order for them to fully put you in position, they have to make sure that you're willing to get in position.
It's believed through what has been revealed in the P. Diddy lawsuits that allegedly this type of activity was taking place at P. Diddy's parties, which is now coming to light and being investigated. Reports claim Ashton Kutcher is set to be subpoenaed in the federal P. Diddy investigation, being due to his long-lasting relationship to P. Diddy. Ron Burkle co-founded Ashton Kutcher's A-Grade Investments Company, which makes up half of Ashton Kutcher's net worth of $200 million. Ashton Kutcher used to head the Fawn Organization, which is a non-governmental organization which had worked with acquiring CIA-linked surveillance tools in links to trafficking of minors. In this video, we took a look into the case of P. Diddy and the arrest made of his so-called mule being in the federal case against him. The Lil Rod lawsuit against P. Diddy claimed that the same mule that was arrested and charged with possession was allegedly getting supply for P. Diddy's parties to spike drinks and compromise celebrities, with the lawsuit revealing non-disclosure agreements which were submitted into evidence, which had shown that the events were listed as artist parties which people were forbidden to discuss. Lil Rod's lawsuit claims celebrities were being compromised and filmed at the parties, with not only male services, but minors too. A 2011 affidavit had revealed that the FBI had been investigating P. Diddy in 2011, being for allegations being made against him for having salacious relationships with minor boys. A new investigation is now being carried out against P. Diddy, being due to the various allegations being made against him in the lawsuits. Cassie, who had filed the initial lawsuit which had led to the onslaught, is now cooperating with the authorities to provide evidence against P. Diddy being about his drug-induced parties. With an arrest already being made in the federal case against P. Diddy, who knows if P. Diddy is next to be locked up? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, smash the thumbs up button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and press that bell button so you can get all the future notifications for when I upload. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.